Good. Yep, that's it.
La police, il y a 2 minutes.
Good. For some reason, I turned off the recording, so keep an eye that that's on, yeah? So, je pouvais entendre la police il y a 2 minutes. Slightly advanced little sneak. English lacks a tense in the verb to be that French has, and Spanish has, and Welsh has, and Italian has. It doesn't have a simple past. So a lot of the time, was is what we will use when we are not on about this, we are on about this. So even though it's I was, it's more of a quick, I was able to, I could. So what, Brie, is pouvoir in the 1, 2, 3 tense? J'ai
Pu.
That's it. So be very mindful, guys, when you hear a was, and it's referring to a quick thing. Like if you say, for example, when Brendan opened the door, all of a sudden, denoting the change, I was cold. It won't be j'avais froid, it'll be j'ai eu froid. Yeah? When Brendan dropped his trousers, I was afraid. J'ai eu peur, j'ai eu peur. All of a sudden. So even though you hear was, it won't always be was. Good. Next one, Brie. Do another one for me. I should eat some salad with my meat. I should eat some salad with my meat.
Je
Look at Lukey. Are we talking about could, or are we talking about would and should?
Would and should.
If you're on about would and should, you're only ever going to get to use the conditional tense or the conditional past tense. You're only ever going to get to use those two tenses, which means ray, rion, ray on the end, or aurait or serait plus past tense in the middle. So in other words, if I said I should eat some vegetables, am I saying I should or I should have? Has it happened yet? Yes or no?
No.
Therefore, am I going to go je devrais or j'aurais dû? Which one do I need if I'm talking about a should that hasn't yet happened?
Devrais.
Spot on, Brie. Well done. So could you please say for me, I should eat some salad. Now, salad is feminine. Yep. How would you say some for something that's feminine?
De la.
Get in, Brie. Well done. So, je devrais manger de la salade avec ma viande, with my meat. Good, Brie. Coming to the right, I've got Brendan. Luke, you should have already eaten lots of vegetables today. Because you look like shit. Luke, you should have already eaten lots of vegetable. I've had kale. I have, this might look like a bollock, but it does eat really well. So you should have already eaten. Question 1, Brendan. Are we in a should which has yet to take place? Or are we in a should which, let's be honest, it hasn't taken place, but we are hypothetically talking about a version of it which would have already taken place. So are we in a front-facing should or a back-facing should?
Back-facing should.
Lovely, which means we need an auxiliary. So what's you should have already eaten? I've slipped in a little cheeky adverb there, Brendan, but it shouldn't bother you. What's you should have already eaten?
Tu auras dû manger.
Brendan, what tense did I say everything today is going to be based around, unless I'm using those could? Conditional and conditional past. So what's the ending that's going to be? That's it. Well done. Ray. Yeah. Rion, rie, but no ra. All right. So you should have already eaten. What's that?
Tu aurais mangé déjà.
No, adverbs go after verb number. What's the slogan? Adverbs after verb number.
bits before verbs, etc.
No, 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 no. Don't sing the wrong song. Adverbs after verb number
One.
one. So for the most part, not always, adverbs will go after verb number one. So where's déjà going to go if I've got tu aurais?
Between aurais and manger.
Tu aurais déjà dû manger. Yep, yep, yep. You don't have to. You could have stuck it on the end. Oui, alors tu aurais dû manger, quelques légumes, des légumes déjà. But you know, tu aurais déjà dû manger. Fine, fine, fine. Good. Luke, when you started the call, I could see that you were outside. Luke, when you started the call, I could see that you were outside.
C'est l'appel. Je verrai que
No,
tu...
no, no, no. I can't even hear what a verb. What are you saying? Je what?
Je
Look at Auntie Lukey. Say it with able. Say it away with able. When you started the call,
je pourrais.
Do what I'm fucking telling you. Say it in English with the word able. Do you remember me teaching you the hack? So
Yes.
Something able, the verb to be able. So when you started the call,
Was able.
Yeah, lovely. So what's the verb to be able to, as explained to us by the lovely Brie?
J'aurais pu.
Stand still. Will you fucking answer the questions I'm giving you? I was able. What is the verb to be able to that we've just been given? Infinitive.
Pouvoir.
Good man. What tense, nod, nod, fucking wink, wink, is was? You're the one that's just said I was able. You're the one that's just said that, not me. We haven't got one of our quick wases. We've got a description was. What tense, my darling, is was going to be in then? A standard. What tense is was in? What do we call it? We call it the
imperfect.
Yes, that seems weird to you. Do you know why are you confused? What tense is a was most of the time?
Imperfect.
Run through my tenses for me. What are my tenses called? Present?
Present was, will, would.
Well done. Good man, good man, good man. So we go le présent, l'imparfait, le futur. So the was is the imperfect. I've just given Brie the exception to when was is a was. To when was is not in the imperfect tense, which is when it's a quick one-off shorter thing. But that's not the case here. That's not the case. So if the verb is pouvoir, what is pouvoir in the imperfect tense, please? What is the trick? Who do you go to? Who do you go to whenever you'd want to find the was tense of any verb apart from the verb to be? Who is the person that you look at in the present tense, Brendan?
Nous.
And what is we can?
Pouvons.
Lovely. And what, therefore, if we've got pouvons, rip off its bollocks, get rid of the on. What is pouvon going to be called if you get rid of the on and stick on an A? What's that going to be?
Okay.
Thank you. So I was able to see. What would that be? Je
voir.
What? Je what?
Je pouvais voir.
That's it. Do I go pesto as well as burger? Yeah, go on, Luke, you fat fuck. Sizes do not matter. Weight is not bad. Body positivity. Body positivity. But I'm a fat fuck. Right. Lovely. So I was able to see that you were outside.
Je pouvais voir que tu étais dehors.
Dehors. Good. Lovely. Denise, if I'd been able to eat earlier, I would have eaten earlier. If I'd been able to eat earlier, which I could have manifested as if I could have eaten earlier. If I'd been able to eat earlier, I would have eaten earlier.
Si j'avais pu manger déjà
Si j'avais pu, that was lovely, good job, well done, well done, well done. What form of a verb must always follow a pu?
infinitive.
Because you've just conjugated. So, si j'avais pu eat before.
Manger.
Good, so be careful. Yes, si j'avais pu manger. Okay. Okay, I would have. What did I say? I would have done it. Let's do it. Let's go with I would have done it. Let's go. I would have done it.
Je l'aurais fait.
Good. Both of these examples are hypothetical. If I'd have been able to eat earlier, what are the clues to tell us of the ones that we need? We've got A, the presence of the word had. If we said, if I had been able to. We've got the fact that, yes, it's something to do with could. I could have. We could have done that way as well. And what did Auntie Lukey tell you to do with the could? To listen to whether it was hypothetical could, of which there are two, je pourrais or j'aurais pu. Hypothetical not yet happened, hypothetical talking about the past. Let's be very clear about the hypothetical past. It hasn't happened. You're daydreaming about a different version of the past. Yeah, you're daydreaming about a different version of the past. You know, I could have, oh, if you told me, I could have come. I didn't go. I missed Brendan's keys in the bowl party. But, you know, it was a lovely invite. But sadly, I couldn't go. But, if you told me it was on Brendan, I could have gone. J'aurais pu. All right. I'm coming off Wi-Fi. 1 second. I've accidentally gone onto Wi-Fi. Good. Well done, Denise. Susan. I should have looked at these videos last week. I should have looked at these videos last week. Off you go.
Luc, j'aurais dû regarder les vidéos hier, à la semaine prochaine.
La semaine dernière.
Oh, dernier.
Good. Good. Lovely. It's a should. It's accompanied by a have. I should have. J'aurais dû. What bothers the mind is should have, but the have bit comes first. Aurait dû. Lovely, Susan. I would have had to start watching the videos. I would have had to start watching the videos. I would have had to start watching the videos.
J'aurais pu commencer à regarder les vidéos.
Pardon me, my mouthful. Commencer à.
Commencer à.
I would have had to. You did beautifully. I would have had to is another way of saying I should have in French, not in English. Bree says I should revise this chapter. That's a green, that's a go towards, that's a tick box. Oh God, if I didn't have Luke teach me this, I would have to learn it the boring way. That's a negative, that's a going against. Same crap in French, same crap. We haven't got any differences. I should have told you I was going to be late. Apologies, says somebody to their other half. I should have. Sounds like something you wished you'd have done. Oh God, thank God. Luke explained this crap to me. Otherwise, I would have had to sounds like something you don't want to do. But those are going to be the same. Yeah, they are going to be the same. Good, lovely. Well done, Susan. Tabitha. If I could find the meat in another shop, I would have bought something. If I could find the meat in another shop, I would have bought something. No, I would have bought it. So, if I could find the meat in another shop, you'll notice one of the little things that we do in English. So question one, Tabitha, are we using would, should, or could? When I say if I could find the meat in another shop, are we using would, should, or could? Obvious question, are we using would, should, or could? Can't hear you, Tabby, can't hear you. Miss TD, I can't hear you.
Could.
Great. Are we in statement could or hypothetical could? If I could find the meat in the shop, I would have bought another, are we in hypothetical realms or statement of definite fact?
This is going to be hypothetical.
Good. This event I'm talking about, if I could find the meat in another shop, I would have bought it. Am I talking about something in the past or something that could still happen?
Something that could still happen.
If I could find, I would have
Oh, that's
bought
in
it.
the
I would have
past.
bought it.
Past.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
But what did I give you on purpose? I give you the number one fuck up that most English speakers do. We don't always bother with the fancy auxiliary version of the first one. So we'd say things like, if I took the lift, the elevator, I would have a lovely view. So you guys go, oh, right, then fine. See plus the was tense, we'll talk about that in just a second, plus the would. Oh, yeah, I would have. And we're supposed to say, talking about the hypothetical past, if I had taken the lift, if I had taken the elevator, I would have had a lovely view. So you go, right, okay, auxiliary, got it. But half the time we don't bother. We just say, oh, last week, if I took the elevator, I'd have had a nice view. We cheat the first one, so you've got to be really, really careful with that one. So in other words, if we are in the past with a could, what's our trick, Tabitha? Try converting it to an able word. So yesterday, if I could find the meat, say that for me in English with it, if I could. If I was...
In English? If
Yeah.
I could.
Yes, but my darling, what am I saying? I'm saying use the version of it where you can say able to. Convert the verb and see what happens. Tell me the story of the word able.
If I was able to buy the meat yesterday, I would have.
That's exactly right, but that's exactly what we want. So you're tempted to say, if I was able to, si je pouvais. But you have to say, if I had been able to, si j'avais pu, I would have bought it, je l'aurais acheté. In other words, I'm just using you as a scapegoat to be like, no, it's the fall guy, to be like, do you see that we've got to be a bit careful sometimes because English is a bit lazy. So do me another one, Tabitha, which will be correctly said. If I had been able to find the meat, I would have bought it. If I had been able to find the meat, I would have bought it. Have a go at that.
In French or English?
Now in French, my darling. Because you've already heard the able to version.
Okay. Si je vais...
Yep. So si j'avais been able to, si j'avais...
Pour,
well done.
Si
Find the
j'avais
meat.
trouver.
Si, Tabby, si j'avais pu find the meat.
Okay. Okay. Si j'avais pu trouver la viande,
La viande. Well done.
la
One go.
viande,
Viande. Okay.
la viande.
I would have bought it. Now we've got a would. We've got a simple would. What did I tell you guys about would? We don't have to worry too much. We just have to work out whether it's a would conditional or a would have, a conditional past. I would have. What's I would have bought?
J'aurais
Yep.
acheté.
Good job. Well done, you. Can you now go again? Well done. Could you give me I would have bought it?
Si je vais.
No, don't do the whole thing. You can do that in a second. You can do that happen. Just do the sentence you've just done beautifully. J'aurais acheté. Could you just go again with an it in that? Just add an it to j'aurais acheté. All you've got to do is that, and then we'll put it together.
Je l'aurais
Well done,
acheté.
Tabitha. That's it. Well done, you. Well done, you. So the sentence you're going to say for me with your mouth together is, well done, Tabitha. Si j'avais pu trouver la viande, je l'aurais acheté. Si j'avais pu trouver la viande, je l'aurais acheté. Try putting the two together. It's really important, you guys, that you practice these two clauses together. Si j'avais pu trouver la viande, je l'aurais acheté. Off you go.
Si je vais pu.
Tabby. Your voice is too good and your accent is too clear when you do it properly. Don't say je vais. J'avais.
Si j'avais pu.
Up. Girl, you were screwing my burger. Every time I take a good mouthful, I have to correct your pronunciation. Si j'avais pu. Not j'avais, not je vais peu. Not je vais, which is I'm going, or peu, which is I can. Si j'avais pu. P-U, pu. Si j'avais pu.
Si j'avais pu trouver la viande.
Mm-hmm.
Si
I would have bought it.
Je l'aurais acheté.
Good. Perfect. Tia. If Luke could do it, we could do this exercise again. If Luke could do it, we could do this exercise again.
Si Luc pouvait le faire, on pourrait faire cet exercice de nouveau.
Good. Encore. Lovely.
Encore.
So, welcome to the confusing example of using the past to talk about the future. But guess what, guys? We do it in English. Hey, Brendan, if you looked over there, you would see. Brendan hasn't yet looked and seen the view. If you looked over there. Now, let's be very clear when it comes to if. If doesn't have to go into these hypothetical crap tenses. Tia, what's the word for please? How do you say please?
S'il te plaît.
Lovely. It begins with the word if. Bree, how do you say please if you're speaking to somebody more formal?
S'il vous plaît.
It begins with the word si. We don't have to go into the hypotheticals with if. So, Bree, if you like a person, you speak with this person. Si tu aimes une personne, tu parles avec cette personne. Brendan, if you liked a person, you would speak with this person. Si tu aimais, was tense, une personne, tu parlerais avec cette personne. Fine. Brendan, if you like this museum, you will... Susan, if you like this museum, you will like the other museum. Si tu aimes ce musée, tu aimeras l'autre musée. Denise, if you'd told me you liked museums, I would have shown you. Si tu m'avais dit, je t'aurais montré. There's different if combos. You just have to decide is it the hypothetical ones? So, listen to Auntie Lukey. Again, similar to what we're doing with would, should, and could, we're going to be focusing very heavily now on ray, rion, ray on either the end of the infinitive or on the end of the irregular. The would tense. Or we'll be focusing on the would in the past tense, would have, which in other words is aurait, aurion, auriez, or serait, serions in the middle. There are focuses. And we've also got the was tense on its own, or the was tense in the middle. So your basic guide is to think a bit like this. If you are doing the hypotheticals, Tabitha says something hypothetical. Hey, Luke, if you were free, we could do something. If you are speaking hypothetically, you are going to want one was verb, one imperfect verb, and one conditional. Imperfect, conditional, was, would. If you did your numbers, it's number 2 and number 4. Yeah, present, was, will, would, was and would. Or would and was, depending where the if comes. So the if, this is incredibly patronizing, I apologize. Denise, what is the first letter of the word if?
I.
Great. What is the second letter, Denise, of the word C?
I.
So where the C comes, that clause is then going to be followed by that word is going to be followed by the was tense. And the other one will be in the would. It could go the other way around. If you wanted, I would show you whatever. Or I would show you if you wanted. We can swap them around. We can't just keep going, oh, was, would. It might be would, was. But the if half is always going to have the was after it. If we go in the past, oh, Denise, if you had told me that you liked museums, we are going to go was after if, but this time it's the auxiliary. So in other words, when you have the word if, you either follow your main verb with the was tense, or you follow your auxiliary verb with the was tense. We don't bother saying pluperfect, but that's what it is, isn't it? So, Bree, say for me, he has eaten. Just plain and simple, he has eaten.
Tu as mangé.
Lovely, but he has eaten. It's probably a good bet to just say me, because I'm about. Yeah, lovely. Just merely change the middle word to the was tense. What would be he had eaten?
Il avait mangé.
Good. Change the middle word to the would tense. Give me he would have eaten.
Il aurait mangé.
Good. Brendan, say for me he left. As an action, he left.
Il est parti.
Il est what?
Il est parti.
Lovely, nice accent. Well done. Change the middle word to the was. What would that give me? He had left. What would that be?
Il était parti.
Change the middle word to the would. What would that give me?
Il serait parti.
Great. So bear that in mind, people. So I'll say it one more time. For the next examples, you're going to be using the was tense and the would tense. Does the was tense have an auxiliary? No. Where do we go for the was tense if we're not sure? The we in the present tense. Nous partons. I was leaving, je partais. All right? So I'll take you step by stage. Denise, if you'd wanted to come, you would have come. If you'd wanted to come, you would have come. Is this a present hypothetical, meaning something that could still happen? Or is this a past hypothetical, meaning something which can no longer happen?
Past hypothetical.
Good. Does it therefore have was and would on the main verb, or was and would on the auxiliaries?
If on the main verb.
Mo. Was and would. Okay, let me just do an example for you guys so you can see what I'm about. Luke, if you wanted to eat, you would eat. And there are very many people in the world that can't say that, so we're all lucky. Mainly Hollywood stars who've got to stay shit thin. So if we pray for them, if you wanted to eat, you would eat. Could that still happen in this situation? Yes. So that means it's the present hypothetical. Ain't no present in the present hypothetical. It just means in this period of your life, if that shit were going to happen, that's what the result would be. It could still go down. You know, even if it's fantastical. If aliens landed, yeah, they would look at Sarah Jessica Parker and fly away. Hypothetical. It might be a silly comment, but it's hypothetical. It hasn't happened yet. So that would be was and would. If Luke wanted to eat, si Luc voulait manger, he would eat, il mangerait. He'd eat if he wanted to eat, il mangerait s'il voulait manger, was and would. Past hypothetical means it's gonna need auxiliaries. If Luke had wanted to eat, he would have eaten. Si Luc avait voulu. Now, sometimes going into that tense, you'll be like, shit, damn, I don't use voulu very often. So make sure that you know the 1, 2, 3 of a lot of these verbs. You all know je savais, I knew. Do you know I have known, j'ai su? Would you be able to say if I had known, for example, j'avais su? So I'll ask you again, Denise, if I'm talking about something which is hypothetically in the past, does it have auxiliaries, yes or no?
Yes.
It does indeed. If I had wanted to eat, I would have eaten. Are we starting with an if clause, yes or no?
Yes.
So does that mean we're going to go if was auxiliary or if would auxiliary?
If was auxiliary.
So could you please say to me, if I had wanted to eat?
Si j'avais voulu manger.
I would have eaten.
J'aurais mangé.
Good. Susan, if you took the bus, the journey would be easier. If you took the bus, the journey would be easier. Is this a present hypothetical, Auntie Susan, or a past hypothetical?
Present.
Good. I know that feels horrible because you might like to think of it like, is it a past one? Therefore, no, then it's the present one. There's nothing present about that. You are not right now taking the damn bus. You know, but that's what it's known as, the present hypothetical. But I get it. It should be like saying a conditional that could still happen, some shit that could still happen versus some shit that can't happen anymore. All right, good. If it's some hypothetical shit that could still happen, are we going to use was and would on the main verb, or are we going to use was and would on the auxiliary verb?
If it's present on the main verb.
Or a better way of thinking about it, does it have an auxiliary if it's the present hypothetical? No. All right, it doesn't have an auxiliary. We just use the was and the would. So how would you say then, Susan, if you took the bus, how would you say that?
Si tu prenais le bus.
Good. Every fiber in your beings, people, when I say you took, you want to say you took, tu as pris. You want to say you took because in English it sounds the same. Yeah. The journey would be easier. The journey would be easier.
Le journée, non.
Le voyage ou le séjour?
Oh, okay.
Oh, sorry, le trajet. Le voyage.
Le voyage
would be.
serait
Serait,
plus,
good.
serait plus facile.
Good. Switch it round, Auntie Susan. The journey would be easier if you took the bus. It's still present hypothetical. It's still going to be was and would, but it's going to go would and was because the if is coming second now. Well, the journey would be easier. Oh, and then had to park, then had to find gas, then had to do this. Oh, well, God, well, the journey would be easier if you took the bus, and also more ecological. So, Sophie, the journey would be easier if you took the bus.
Le voyage serait plus facile si tu prenais le bus.
Le bus.
La,
Which of those two sentences is the one you've got to be the most careful on? Is it the journey would be, or is it if you took? It's if you took, isn't it? The
If you
would
took.
stuff kind of tells you what's going on. Yeah, the other one is a bit of a misleading thing. Great. Tabitha, if you lived in Paris, you would speak lots of French. Actually, that's not a totally true statement. I know a load of people that I teach currently, some of whom had done up to like 18 months in Paris. The whole American Paris thing is so possible. It's so easy to live in Paris and not speak French. And don't ever darken my door with the 3 words that I hate the most in this world. Emily in Paris. Never bring that shit to my doorstep. Oh my God. I mean, nothing against Lily Collins. She does a good little American accent, doesn't she? For a Brit, she's very good. What an absolute trite, twee load of crap. My God. What an absolute load of crap. Lovely. Paris is just as beautiful as that TV show, just as charming, just as interesting, but it ain't a load of stereotype. Right. So if you lived in Paris, you would speak lots of French. Now, there's a nice little trick to working out whether or not it is a present hypothetical, which means the was and the would, or a past hypothetical, which means was and would on the auxiliary. Try adding the words tomorrow or next week and try adding the words yesterday. So if it was a hypothetical present, hey, Brendan, tomorrow, if you came to my house, we could drink a glass of wine. That makes sense. So it shows you and reminds you that it's the one that's going to use was and would. Brendan, demain, si tu venais à la maison, on pourrait boire un verre de vin. The past hypothetical would sound stupid with the word tomorrow. Tomorrow, if you'd come to my house, we would have drunk a glass of wine. No. Yesterday, if you'd come to my house, we would have drunk a glass of wine. Isn't that miraculously useful to solve which one is present and which one is past? So just try adding the words tomorrow or yesterday. So, Tabby, for me, if you lived in Paris, you would speak lots of French. Are we in was and would, or are we in was and would on the auxiliary?
We're in was and would on the auxiliary.
No. If you lived in Paris, could that still happen?
Yes, it could. If, yes.
Good. Try saying to me tomorrow if you lived in Paris. No, I mean in English. In English, just say tomorrow if you lived in Paris.
Tomorrow if you lived in Paris.
Or pick another point in the future, Tabby, my darling. Next month, next week.
Okay.
You know, does that make sense what you've just said? Yeah.
No.
No.
Well, it kind of. But...
Bitch, lay off the weed. If you next year, if you lived in Paris, you'd speak lots of French. Does that not make sense?
Right. It makes sense.
Last year, if you lived in Paris, you would speak like, no, it doesn't make sense. So in other words, is it the present hypothetical, which means talking about some shit that could still happen, Tabby, my darling? Or is it the past hypothetical, talking about some shit which can no longer still happen, which it's the
present. Present.
Does the present system have an auxiliary, yes or no?
The present doesn't have, no,
It doesn't have an auxiliary, does
No.
it? No.
no.
It just goes C something 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 A something
Mhm.
something something Ray. That's exactly
Mhm.
right.
Mhm.
So if you lived, what tense then do I need after the C, Tabby?
It's going to be the was tense.
Correct. What is our sound system for the was tense? It needs to end in what?
A,
No, I
A,
couldn't finish the question and you've got the answer. Good job. What is the verb to live?
habiter.
Well done. Does it already have an A sound on the end of it?
Yes.
Good man. Off you go. So say for me, if you lived in Paris, you don't need to change shit.
Si tu habitais à Paris,
Nice mouth. Now stand still. Having now done one of those, this one kind of tells you. Be mindful, guys. It won't always tell you. You could have a could. If you did this, you could do this. Oh, shit. That doesn't tell me whether it's a would. But remember the trick, Lukey's little hack? You would be able to. Saves your ass, all right? So you would speak. What tense, Tabitha, is you would speak? What tense is you would?
conditional.
Good. And what ending does the conditional have?
Rion, rie.
Well done for not neglecting Rion and Rie. Well done for having them in the right order. You'd be amazed how many people screw that up. So if you lived in Paris, you would speak lots of French. Translate it for me, madam.
Si tu habitais à Paris, tu parlerais beaucoup le français.
Beaucoup de français. Beaucoup de français.
Le français.
Now, your clever little mouth is remembering tu parles français, tu parles le français. I can hear it's doing that. Let me very quickly just give you an aside, guys, on parler en français. Well done, Tabitha. That's very good. Parler is the only verb where you would drop the for the noun. Because what happens is, tu parles français and tu parles le français both exist. Strictly speaking, tu parles le français means your ability to speak a language. So, for example, Tia speaks Finnish, which with 9 million words for snow and ice is a fucking impressive statement. So, Tia speaks Finnish. Elle parle le finnois, okay? Or le finlandais, you can say both. She speaks Finnish with her friends, family, whatever. Elle parle finnois. So, in other words, we're supposed to really respect the fact that if you are talking about someone's capacity to speak the language, oh yeah, Brie speaks French. Oui, Brianne, elle parle le français. She speaks French with Luc. Elle parle français avec Luc. That's what we meant to do. So, in other words, elle parle le français is the same as saying elle sait parler le français. She knows how to speak French. And elle parle français is the same as saying elle parle en français. She speaks in French with Luc. But half the time people just jack that shit off. Which then happens, what then happens is when you then use français with other things like I learn French, you will want to start saying things like j'apprends français, and you want to apply the same rule of getting rid of the article. So don't do that. Good. Tia. If I had gotten washed this morning, that would have made you happy. I had such a big wash this morning, you can't even imagine. And then I did a ballet class, and then I had another scouring shower. So trust me, I'm clean. So off you go. The cold shower. Shout out to Dance Works in London that don't have any hot fucking water. So, Tia, if I'd gotten washed this morning, that would have made you happy. Let me help you. Go on.
Si m'étais lavé ce matin.
What came before mete? Si
je m'étais lavé ce matin, ça te serait rendu heureux.
Correct idea, but right. I gave you this on purpose because rendre is very, very commonly associated with reflexive verbs and therefore the verb to be in the auxiliary. Here are two usages of rendre. English is hard. Here are two usages of rendre that use reflexive and therefore the verb to be on the auxiliary. Je me suis rendu compte, I realized. Je me suis rendu à la fête, I turned up at the party. So you guys go, oh yeah, serait rendu, because you've heard it before. But in the example that made you happy, that would have made you happy, Tia, what entity is doing the verb in that would have made you happy? What entity is doing the verb? What word did you correctly use for that there? What word did you correctly use for that?
Rendu.
No, my darling, the word for that you started with.
Ça.
Well done. And who were you rendering happy? Well done for remembering render, not fair. We don't fair people happy, we render people happy. So what verb were you, and who were you rendering happy there, Tia?
De.
Te, yeah,
Te.
yeah. So are ça and a te the same person?
No.
So by definition, is that going to be have or be in the middle?
Have.
Let me show you a very sneaky little trick. This is so fucking sneaky. This is brilliant. In the present hypothetical, guys, are we saying that it's got auxiliaries or no auxiliaries? What are we saying in the present hypothetical? Auxiliaries or no auxiliaries? In the present hypothetical?
No auxiliaries.
No auxiliaries. Going through our system, what's the first tense that we know that's got no auxiliaries? What's the first one that we use?
Present.
Lovely.
Present.
And if we went on to the one that's got auxiliaries, present was, will, would, subjunctive, infinitive. Present was, will, would, subjunctive, infinitive on the auxiliary. So what's the first tense that we practice with an auxiliary? It's the one with the present on the auxiliary. In other words, our main past, our passé composé. So if you want to get your structure up and running for these, and you're going to need this, because basically we're not going to do it now, but in another couple of weeks, we'll revisit this with phrasal verbs, yeah, where you have to get all kinds of pronouns and shit in it as well. Here's a very neat little trick. If you are going to use was and would, get your shit in order with the present tense. And then all you've got to do is change one word. So Brie, could you just say for me, that makes you happy? Using ça, using the verb rendre, could you just say for me, that makes you happy? Ça, present tense.
Ça me rend
Heureuse, we'll go with heureuse. Yes, ça me rend heureuse. Right. That structure, so if you said, oh, if it made me happy, I would do it more often. So how are you going to put rendre into the was tense? Ça me
rendait.
That's it. How are you going to put rendre into the would tense? Imagine that was sentence number 2. If you did this, this, and this, that would make me happy. How would you put rendre into the would tense? Ça me
rendrait.
Very good. See how that would work? Brendan, say for me, that made me happy. We've agreed it's a have verb, fella. We're now in the king of the auxiliary verbs. So I now need an auxiliary that made me happy. Ça
m'a
yes?
Ça me fait heureux.
Excuse me, bitch. What freaking verb do we use to make someone an adjective that we were just talking about that Brianna's got right and Tia's got right?
Oh, rendre.
Thank you. Ça m'a
ça m'a rendu heureux.
Lovely. We don't use faire to make somebody an adjective. We render somebody an adjective. I'm going to talk about that for a program of study for you in just a moment. All right. Will you please remind me that? Would you just say, Luke, remind me the program of study on rendre and faire? If I don't come back to that, will somebody remind me? Yep. Just go, oi, prick, rendre, and that'll be fine. So if you said ça m'a rendu heureux, Now, from that structure, how would you say that had made me happy? Imagine if that had made me happy. Imagine that you were in the hypothetical past and it was the first one. How would you turn ça m'a rendu heureux into that had made me happy, Brendan?
Ça m'avait rendu heureux.
Lovely. Look how easy that is. That was a very nice join in the lips. How would you say from your base camp of ça m'a rendu heureux? How would you turn that into that would have made me happy? Imagining that it's in the second time now. How would you say that would have made me happy?
Ça m'aurait heureux.
Ça m'aurait, yeah.
Rendu heureux.
Lovely. Notice how that is going to help you do this. So, Denise, how would you say he realizes? No, how do you say he remembers it? Present tense, he remembers it.
Il s'en souvient.
Lovely. If he remembered it, you've only got to change one verb. You haven't got to change the structure. What would be if he remembered it? Look at Auntie Lukey. Look at Auntie Lukey. You've missed the point of everything we've just said. Say again, he remembers it. Say again, he remembers it. Which is what you said correctly.
Il s'en souvient.
Is that the present tense?
Yes.
Would you agree, you and I, that the present tense is a tense with no auxiliary?
Correct. Right.
Is the if he remembered it going to also be using a tense with no auxiliary?
No.
Look at me.
No.
You disgust me. If he remembered it, you give me a second line. You give me another line that I can use with if he remembered it. If he remembered it, he'd give me another version. Complete the story.
If he'd remembered it.
No. Nobody said if he'd remembered it.
Oh,
If
okay.
he remembered it. If he remembered it, give me a second line.
He would have.
There you go. Before you've even finished the second line, your brain intelligently and logically knows he would.
Mm-hmm.
If he remembered it, he would find it useful. Let's say that. Does your son take his umbrella to school in winter? Well, yeah, if he remembered it, he would find it useful. It's normally lit by the back door, let's say. All right. So if he remembered it, he would find it useful. Is this a present hypothetical or a past hypothetical?
Present.
It could still happen.
Mhm.
Therefore, what two tenses are we going to be using, Denise?
The
I know they're in your brain, just say them, but I know they're in your brain, I can hear them.
Conditional.
Give me the order, please. The
The
was and would,
was
or
and
imperfect or conditional. Say those words back to me, Denise.
was.
No, I didn't say repeat that to me. Was, would, or imperfect and conditional. Go.
Was, would, imperfect or conditional.
Good man. So if we say, look, if he remembered it, what tense is going to have to come after the if we're in this tense? What tense must I now have if he remembered it?
The imperfect.
Lovely. And have we just agreed that that is also a tense which is now not going to have an auxiliary?
Correct.
Lovely.
Right.
So if you've just said il s'en souvient, what's the only word you've now got to change?
The souvient.
That's exactly right. Do you see the point I'm trying to make?
Yes.
You don't need to rearrange all the furniture, guys. You don't need to rearrange all the furniture. So say for me, if he remembered it, go into the tense I need. S'il s'en
souvenait.
There you go. Now let's say hypothetically that we'd said something else. If you wrote it on a post-it, let's go Romeo and Michelle with a yellow post-it. If you wrote it on a post-it, he would remember it. What tense is would in, please, Denise?
Conditional.
Lovely, or we could even call it the would tense. It wouldn't bother me.
Mhm.
Does that have an auxiliary?
No.
Your speed is concerning me. Quickly, does that have an auxiliary? Yes or no?
Yes.
No. I just mean you're wrong. I just need you to. I told you weren't fucking sure. I knew you weren't sure. Does the conditional have an auxiliary? Yes or no?
No.
No. Are you clear on that?
Mhm.
Was, will, would present, was, will, would. Get this shit down, people. So in other words, if I've got il s'en souvient, and I'm now going into the conditional, what would that be? Il s'en
souviendrait.
souviendrait. Good. So do you
Souviendrait.
see how my present is a template? Good. Susan, say for me, he remembered it. So il s'en souvient, which is a reflexive verb, but I'm now sticking that in the action past. I'm sticking that in the passé composé. So Susan, what's that going to be?
Il s'est...
Pause.
Il s'en.
Listen, you're correct to think of il say because it is a poetry past. But did I have a pronoun a moment ago in Denise's version?
Mhm.
I had
Yes.
il son. Don't lose a pronoun. There's not a tense where you change pronoun. So in other words, can I momentarily remind you guys to do this? Je me suis, je m'en suis, je m'y suis, tu t'es, tu t'en es, tu t'y es, il s'est, il s'y est, il s'en est. I think I switched the order, sorry. Nous nous sommes, nous nous en sommes, nous nous y sommes. Vous vous êtes, vous vous en êtes, vous vous y êtes. Ils se sont, ils s'en sont, ils s'y sont. I believe I've told you to do that before. That is practicing the poetry past with a pronoun. So in other words, Susan, what is he remembered as an action? He remembered it. Ils sont.
Ils sont souvenus.
No?
He remembered is an action. What do actions have in the past?
Oh, an auxiliary.
Good man. What
Okay.
is what you went to say earlier, which isn't wrong, you just needed an extra bit. What is the poetry past for il? Not je me suis, not tu t'es, but il
s'était.
il s'est. Now, what would that be if I'd kept my on in there, as we just did a moment ago?
Il s'en est.
Nice. Now, on the end of it, what do I have on the end of all the auxiliaries, the 5 of which we've talked about? I have a past participle. What is the past participle of il s'en est going to be for souvenir? Il s'en est
souvenu.
So say for me, he remembered it as an action. Il s'en est souvenu.
Il s'en est souvenu.
Good. Which one word of that is going to change if I went into other auxiliary tenses? Il s'en est souvenu. Which word there is going to change?
Et.
Well done, that woman. If I went, well, bloody hell, if he'd remembered it, he wouldn't have been soaking when he got to school, would he? For example. So is that a present hypothetical or a past hypothetical?
If he had remembered it.
Yes, but I want you guys, no, listen to Auntie Lukey. The 2 people I've loved the most in this entire world after the passing of my grandma have been my ex-husband and my child, and both of whom have American passports. I mean nothing nasty when I say this, but Americans are fucking dumb with the word had. It is not your skill set. You don't use it at all as much. It scares the shit out of you, because in American English, you're much more commonly and cleverly, much more commonplace. I bought a white t-shirt last week. I had bought a blue one the week before, and I wanted the same one. It's much more commonplace in standard American speech to say, I bought a white t-shirt, and then use an adverb of time and say, 2 weeks ago, I bought another one. It's not like a shorthand grammatically. It is fine to say that. So you guys always panic about the had, and you're listening for the had. And am I saying the had? Am I not saying that? This is a shout out to my lovely Nina, who I used to teach. You'll have seen Nina in the advanced classes. I told Nina to get over worrying about the had. Listen to whether or not you are you can feel that this is in the past or not. He had remembered it. He'd remembered it. Don't obsess about the had. You know whether you've heard the had. You will tonally know whether you've heard it. So in other words, Susan, he'd remembered it. If he'd remembered it, he would have been dry. Are we talking present hypothetical or past hypothetical?
It's present.
Sorry?
It's present. If he
So
had.
it's the missile that I've launched on its way to your humble abode. Listen to me. No, don't give me 50-50 process elimination. If he'd remembered it, he would have been dry. Am I talking about some shit that could still happen? Or am I hypothetically thinking about the past in a different way?
Hypothetical past.
Great. This hypothetical present or hypothetical past? I'll ask my question again. Is this present hypothetical or past hypothetical?
Past hypothetical.
Good. What tenses do we use on the past hypothetical? We have was and would with an auxiliary or without an auxiliary?
With an auxiliary.
That's right. So we've just said il s'est rendu. Sorry, il s'est souvenu. Il s'en est souvenu. Could you change the middle auxiliary to the was tense? He had remembered it. What would that give me?
Il s'en était
souvenu. Good. Souvenu. Could you go back to my neutral? Go back to my neutral, Susan. Il s'en est souvenu.
Il s'en est souvenu.
Could you now hypothetically imagine that that happened to be the second sentence? As in, well, you know, if I told him in advance, he would have remembered it. What's that going to be? Il s'en. So in other words, I'm now going to need the would in the middle. Il s'en.
Il s'en serait souvenu.
Correct, correct. So in other words, if you guys panic about anything, just think, right, if this is something that could still happen, let me get those two sentences. Right, I'm going to go through the order again I'm going to go through exactly the same order again with Tabitha, so you can see exactly the same thing happening. So I'm going to say to Tabitha, if he told me the truth, I would buy the chocolate. To my nephew, when I don't reward kids with raw cane sugar, but like, if he told me the truth, I'd buy him some chocolate. If I told him the truth, I would buy some chocolate. So, Tabitha, if he told me the truth, I would buy him some chocolate. Are we talking present hypothetical could still happen, or past hypothetical could no longer happen? If he told me the truth, I would buy him some chocolate. Present hypothetical could still happen, or past hypothetical could no longer happen.
That was the past, no longer could happen.
What is wrong with you, Yanks? If he told me the truth, I would buy him some chocolate. Is that
okay? I didn't hear that part. Sorry. That's going to be present, still present.
There you go. Let me tell you what is throwing you off kilter. The fact that in English, and you all do it, if Luke, if you wanted to come round, we'd be free later. We use the past, and you're like, but what the fuck, Luke? Wanted is in the past. Why you? But that's what we do. I know it's mega common if you want to come round, but it's hypothetically correct. So, do you know? Listen, Luke. Later, if you wanted to come round, we would. Do you all acknowledge in English that that is a thing we can say? Yes, and do you all acknowledge that not what he wanted or you wanted? That's the past. Like, do we acknowledge that we are using the past to talk about something that's going to happen in the future? I totally get that that's a head fuck, which is why you've got to listen to the second sentence. Listen, Luke, if you wanted to come over, I would order an Uber. Could that still happen, Tabitha? You minx.
Yes.
Yes, it could. I'll freshen up. And limber up. I did ballet this morning. You're in luck. I have a flexible spine. So basically, even though you're hearing if you wanted to come over, even though the wanted sounds like in the past, do we acknowledge that that is talking about something that could still happen? Let's do another one. The other challenge is when you hear, if you spoke French every day, you would improve. Your brains say you spoke. So your brains go, all right, you spoke, tu as parlé, because in other places, that is completely you spoke. That is completely you spoke. I completely get it. I completely get it. If I go up to Bree and I say, right, Bree, translate for me, you spoke. Bree would go, okay, Luke, whilst I'm open to the fact that you spoke could be regularly in the past, you know, when you were little, you spoke. My go-to for most situations, unless I knew otherwise, would be you spoke. You went. I say to Bree, you went. She's going to say, tu es allé. If I said, when you were little, you went to church every week with your grandma, fine. She'd then convert it to tu allé. You used to go. But her go-to, I'd imagine, for you went would be tu es allé. But if I said, Bree, if you went into the kitchen, there's a bottle of champagne on the side, help yourself, my darling. I wouldn't do that. I'd go and serve Bree because I'm not a fucking Philistine. But let's just say I was chained up. Tabitha has chained me up and I'm not able to serve my other guest, Bree. So I said, Bree, if you went into the kitchen, you'd find a bottle of... Now, let's be honest. We often in lazy English say, Bree, if you go into the kitchen, my darling, there will be a bottle of Veuve Clicquot on the side. No, there won't. There'll be Laurent Perrier Rosé. But anyway, or Laurent Perrier Rosé. But the fact is, the best. But if you said that, do we acknowledge that Bree hasn't gone into the kitchen yet? Do we accept that? But in English, like, Bree, if you just went into the kitchen, what the fuck is English and French doing? Yeah, we get it. Do you get it? So you've got to think of the whole situation. Could it still happen? So Tabitha, I will return to my original. Look, if you told me the truth, I would buy some chocolate. Could that still happen, Tabitha?
Yes.
So therefore, tread very carefully because I am in possession of a sharp implement. Is that the present hypothetical or the past hypothetical?
That would be the present hypothetical.
That's right. Let me go over this one more time. I know it isn't happening right now because it's hypothetical. Right now, I'm sitting on my fat bitch ass teaching you guys. I ain't doing these things. But if I said, if I wanted to get a coffee, I would get a coffee. That's the present hypothetical. I don't currently want to get a coffee. Yes, I do. I desperately do. But I'm trying to teach you which is more important. Because as Michelle, future president of the United States of America, if there's any will or a way, tells us, we rise up by raising others up. So it's basically, that's what I want to do. So if I said, if I wanted to buy a coffee, it's present hypothetical. This system is called present hypothetical. It isn't what I'm literally doing right now. It's like in this present moment of my life, like not literally right now, but in this chapter of my sad existence, if I, during this chapter of my existence, wanted to buy a coffee, I would go to the cafe. Yeah, so that's why it's called the present hypothetical. But I know that shit bothers us. All right. So then, back to Tabby. So we are agreeing that we are in the present hypothetical, yes? Because it could still happen. What are the two tenses that I'm going to use, Tabby, in the present hypothetical?
Was and would, imparfait and conditional.
That's it. Imparfait and conditional. That's it, Tabitha. Exemplary. If it were the past hypothetical, it would be was and would on the auxiliary. Or here's another cheat. One of avait, an été, and one of aurait and serait. Or avion, 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 avier, étion, étier, aurion, aurier, saurion, saurier. But yeah, but mainly one of avait and été and one of aurait and serait. But we ain't. So I need one of was and one of would. If you told the truth, so like the system that we're practicing is, we might want to check ourselves by doing the present tense. So here's listen to this. When you have the present hypothetical, check it with the present. Yeah, check it with the present. So what would be the present of you told me? If you told me the truth, you tell me the truth. So what would be, Tabitha? You tell me the truth. What would that be as a sentence? Present tense, my darling.
Je me dis.
But you say Tabby, we have this every week. Don't stop I and you.
Tu me dis.
Tu me dis. Good job. Tu me dis. And what's the word for the truth? La
vérité.
Lovely. Just mess your mouth up for me because you've got a nice accent. Just make your mouth soft. Tu me dis la vérité.
Tu me dis la vérité.
Lovely. So that is our model. Now, if I went to the if part of the present hypothetical, we need the was tense. So keep your structure. Tu me la vérité. We only need to change that word. So what would be the was tense of tu me dis, Tabby? Si tu me...
Si tu me disais la vérité.
Lovely. I would buy some chocolate. Let's practice it with the present tense so that we know. Now, this might seem quite puerile right now, but when you're getting all up into your, like, you take the piss out of me, tu te fous de ma gueule. If you took the piss out of me, si tu te foutais de ma gueule, and all of this kind of business, you took the piss out of me, action, tu t'es foutu de ma gueule. If you've taken the piss out of me, si tu t'étais foutu de ma gueule. Do you see that it's actually very useful to do this when we get up into big girl and big boy phrasal verbs? But for the moment, Brendan, you look upset. But the fact is, we don't need to do that just yet, but we work on this present thing. So, in other words, we're then coming to I buy some chocolate. How would you say I buy some chocolate, please, Tabitha? Present tense, I buy some chocolate.
Oh,
Present.
just
But listen to Auntie Lukey. Listen to Auntie Lukey. I buy, present tense, some chocolate.
Je acheté
Pause,
des
Tabitha.
chocolate.
What's the verb to buy that you are saying beautifully? What's the infinitive?
Acheté.
Nice soft sh, by the way. Dude, what do we do with an A verb? Remove the A. What's acheté without the A?
J'achète.
Lovely. And if you watch my video on stem changes that was a live that went up a couple of weeks ago, we speak about verbs like that. Yeah, acheté, achète. We speak about the pronunciation thing. We do. Had a very good time all by myself. Lovely. So what's I buy some chocolate?
J'acheté des
Present
chocolats.
tense. Tabitha, we're running it through in the present tense, my darling. What's I buy present tense?
J'acheté.
No present tense, dude. Tabitha, what's to eat?
Je mangeais.
Dude, answer my question. What is to eat?
Tu mangeais.
Stand still or I'm coming for you.
Tu
Cleopatra
manges.
coming at
Tu
you.
manges. I'm sorry, tu manges.
You no, just fucking listen and you answer the question I'm asking. What is to eat, the infinitive?
Manger.
Good girl, don't speak. What is I eat? Present tense, focus.
Je mange.
Good. Your problem is you like French so much, you're just happy it's in your mouth. You're like, woohoo! Don't go into the wrong damn tense, my darling. Right. So if it's acheter, what is the short form of acheter, please, Tabitha?
Achète.
Now will you stick a j up its hiney and give me I buy? Don't go in the wrong tense.
J'achète
Thank you. What would be some chocolate?
des chocolats.
That would be plural. Tabitha, don't be so greedy. Du chocolat, some chocolate.
Du
Yeah?
chocolat.
Lovely. So if it were now, I would buy some chocolate, we've got our version worked out. We know that we don't need any of the pronouns in the way. We don't need any, whatever in the way. So what's I would buy some chocolate? I would buy. What ending, Tabitha, do I need on a would tense? What ending do I need on a would tense?
Ray.
Spot on that woman. So what's I would buy some chocolate?
J'achèterai.
Good. So put it together. Tabby, close your mouth. I want more of a French accent from you because the vowels are nice. Say to me,
J'achèterai du chocolat.
I am going to put a bit on you like my horse. Okay, so listen, ready to go. Listen, ready when I want you to go. You can gallop. You can fuck cancer. You can gallop. But let me give you the sentence first. Si tu me disais la vérité, j'achèterais du chocolat. Si tu me disais la vérité, j'achèterais du chocolat. We could really say, I would buy you, je t'achèterais. But I'm not going to make you guys say, je t'achèterais, because it will upset you. So say for me, si tu me disais la vérité, j'achèterais du chocolat. Have a go together, Tabitha, off you go.
Si tu disais.
Si tu me disais, this is why we practice them together. Si tu me disais la vérité, j'achèterais du chocolat.
Si tu me disais la vérité.
La vérité.
La vérité. J'achète.
No.
J'achète.
No, the would.
Oh, J'achèterai
Thank you.
du chocolat.
Listen to Auntie Lukey. Il achète, il achetait, il achètera, il achèterait. Il est intéressant qu'il achète avant d'acheter. Il a acheté, il avait acheté, il aurait acheté, il aurait acheté. Il est intéressant qu'il ait acheté après avoir acheté. All 10 of these, even hypothetically, the passé simple. Il acheta. Yeah, he bought in a book. You know, il acheta with a hat on it. In the, you know, il eut acheté, il eut with a hat on it, acheté. You can't hear the difference between the 4 book tenses, and I mean archaic book tenses, if you've got a he. If you did a tu, so tu achetas, tu achetas, tu eus acheté, tu eus acheté. That's like the only literal other tenses which literally exist in French, and they're archaic and random as shit, and you don't even need those. And you don't even need to come up with those, you just need to recognize them in a book. So the point is, on all of that crap, all of those need to be equal in your mouth. Some verbs you just love saying in the long form. Culprits commonly include essayer. I cannot get anybody for love nor money to say j'essaie. You all want to say essayer. So be careful. One more each and we go. Brie, if somebody watched Luke's video, they would find it useful. Video is feminine, by the way. If somebody watched Luke's video, they would find it useful.
Si quelqu'un regardait la vidéo de Luc,
Spot on, perfect assessment, because it could still happen. Lovely. They would find it useful. Well done, Brianna. They would find it, and it's a feminine video, my darling.
il le
Feminine
trouverait
video, il la.
il la trouverait
Useful, utile.
utile.
Good.
Mm.
Practice your victory. Close your mouth.
Mm.
Si quelqu'un regardait la vidéo de Luc, what did you say? Luke's video? Yeah. Si quelqu'un regardait la vidéo de Luc, il la trouverait utile. So you've got to practice doing both of these halves together. Because otherwise, like I just said, with all of those 12, they all feel nice. They all feel nice in your mouth. You've got to know what goes with what. Oui, alors si quelqu'un regardait la vidéo de Luc, il la trouverait utile.
Oui, si quelqu'un...
So your challenge is I want you to stay joined. You
Mm.
build up speed when and anything that you come across, because your accent's nice and your mouth is in a nice position. Keep your diaphragm intact and go all the way across. Now you could do it this slowly, Brie, and it would be absolutely, completely gorgeous. Si quelqu'un regardait la vidéo de Luc, il la trouverait utile. That's fine. It's actually even nicer because it allows you to put emotion into it. Oh oui. Si quelqu'un regardait la vidéo de Luc, il la trouverait utile. That's fine. So slow it right down. But my ask from you, because you've got a very pretty pronunciation, is keep the diaphragm going. Ooh, one long sound, all right? One more go. Have a go.
Si quelqu'un regardait la vidéo de Luc,
Il la trouverait utile.
Il la trouverait utile.
Good. So your goal, guys, is to start your and get all the way to the end.
Mm.
You did that in the first half. What I enjoyed very much was that you had no problem going, si quelqu'un regardait la vidéo. That's fine. That's great. Can I remind you of a French accent in English? Hello, my name is Luc. I live in London. We go long. We go long. Listen to the lengths of the words. Brendan, ask me any random ask question in English. Just ask me a random ask question in English.
What's your favourite colour?
Alors, c'est une question super intéressante. I mean, I think on my feet because I'm a teacher. But if I spoke in a normal way and I was like improvising and stuff, and I'm going to try and put some pauses in on purpose. Oui, alors c'est une question super intéressante parce qu'effectivement, moi, j'ai 2 réponses parce que normalement, alors je dis, j'ai une couleur préférée à voir et j'ai une couleur préférée à mettre. Par exemple, j'aime bien regarder tout ce qui est vert, j'aime bien le vert et j'aime bien porter le noir. Do you see what I mean? You can hold the word on while you're thinking. That's fine. I said I like to look at green and wear black. Good. I used to like wearing green, but my daughter told me off. She said I wear too much green. Good, that'll do. So basically, whatever sentence you do, guys, join. Just join. Just join. Just join. Just join. Don't make me go back to giving you vowel journeys. Yes. Si quelqu'un regardait ma vidéo, I will, if the mouth doesn't stay reasonably closed and you don't keep going off the diaphragm. Good. Different project next week. All right. So if you want to do any more viewing on this, okay, type hypothetical or present hypothetical, or just if into my channel or anybody else's. By all means, expose yourself to as many examples as you can. Yeah. Notice it will often combine with the coulds and the shoulds. If you lived in so-and-so, you could come and see me. Ah, si tu habitais à Paris, tu pourrais. Ah, you would be able to come and see me. Good. Totally different topic next week. Totally different topic. If you have been watching this video and you haven't taken part in the class, please remember that I have a Kofi link available underneath the video in the description box, and I'll also pop it in the comments. I do appreciate a coffee. I spend the coffee fund on coffee. I don't like go and live in some opulence or something. It's like it goes on coffee. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe. Please remember that there are podcasts available which are for vocabulary, grammar, one-to-one, the reading and the listening. Good. Lovely, guys. Same time next week. Well done, well done, well done, well done. All right. Loads of love.
Luke, we're meant to remind you something
about Rendre. Yes, that's really useful. So basically, Rendre Fair Study Group. This is something you can go and, oh, Susan's left, but she can pop back in a mind. So Fair and Rendre is a really big thing to get, because you say make for both of them. So Brendan makes me happy. Happy is an adjective, so Brendan renders me happy. All right. But Brendan makes me work. Brendan me fait travailler. When you use the verb faire to make somebody else to do a verb, to make somebody else do, to cause somebody else to do another verb, this grammar is known as the causative. The causative. And the causative is when you make somebody else do. So the two programs of study are A, get rendre and faire down, as in don't keep saying Luc me fait content. It's Luc me rend triste. Luc me fait parler. Then, off in two different directions, have a little look at the causative. So if I said I built the houses, that's me building the houses. J'ai construit les maisons. I got the houses built. J'ai fait construire les maisons. You insert faire into the sentence, okay? And then that turns into my actions caused those houses to be built. Now, I could say I made him build the houses. I made you do this. I make you work. Je te fais travailler. You can do this. It then plays very nicely with the passive. You might want to start looking at the passive voice videos. These are things that are going to be coming up. So there's different ways of doing the passive in French. So step one, say they or one or somebody. So he got arrested. They arrested him. Somebody arrested him. One arrested him. Or step two, use the verb to be when was is not a was. Il a été rather than il était, because was isn't a was there, it's an action. This is going beyond you, just watch the passive video. Or je me suis fait arrêter. I got myself arrested. Je me suis fait arrêter, which is the causative reflexive, which is one of the ways of doing the passive. So in other words, this might seem a little bit frightening, but future study areas would be faire, which is the causative. En rendre. Once you've got en rendre, which is a verb of transformation, to make something something, we then come across the other verbs of transformation where we don't use rendre. I would say, for example, Luke's going to make it more complicated. I mean, you could, Luc va le rendre plus compliqué. You could say Luc's going to complicate things. Luc va compliquer les choses. So if your adjective after make, so Brianna made them really motivated, you wouldn't say that, would you? Say Brianna motivated them. The same in French. So if your adjective is, you know, Luc made it something, 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 Ed, Luc made them tired, you just say Luc tired them. So you can go and use those verbs instead, which are worth looking at. Then final thing, and I literally, you should absolutely embrace this opportunity, because you know me, I'm not a fan of people writing stuff down. You want to start a list of what we call verbs of transformation. So this is when you take an adjective or you take a noun and you turn it into a verb. So for example, to make white, blanchir. To make red, rougir. To make yellow, jaunir. Where do you think jaundice comes from? The word, ugly, laid, enlaidir, to make ugly. Joli, pretty, enjoliver, to make pretty, to pretty up. Égayer, to make gayer, meaning happier rather than in any other way. We can do it with nouns. Other adjectives, so long, long, to lengthen, allonger. Yeah, grand, agrandir, grandir. So we stick the adjective in the middle of the word. We'll put a or on or e or de or something to the left, or put ir or a on the right, and you've got a whole new verb. We can do it with nouns. Terre, the earth. En terre, a, to bury. À terre, ir, to land a plane. So in other words, it's just two study areas that you can't do until you've gotten rendre and faire. One is the causative and one is verbs of transformation. You don't need to consider those. You just need to have them in your mind map for where we're going. Go over what we've done this week. Make sure you've got that in order, all right? That's what I would rather you have. All right? Good. Well done. Loads of love. Bye-bye, guys.
Thank you.